Okay, so those are the answers to the homework. Hopefully you got them corrected. I'm going to switch screens now onto the one I can write on, so just give me a second. Okay, so I'd recommend pinning the one with my hand in, the one I'm speaking on right now, to your screen, and we'll get going on today's work, which is the basics of integers. Okay. So an integer, if we don't have this already, we don't know what it is already, maybe you can take down the definition of what integer is. Integer, all positive and negative. Focus on a second. All numbers. Okay, so they have to be whole numbers. So there's no decimals in there, no fractions in there, just positive and negative whole numbers. If we were to represent that on a number line, integers, it is only these numbers right on the dots, right on the numbers that we include in integers. There's nothing between 0 and 1 that just jumps from 0 to 1. But it also includes these negative numbers. Carlo?
Do we write this down?
Yeah, do it.
Okay.
All right. Can anyone give me a reason why we need negative numbers? Seemed like an awful lot of hassle. No one? Quentin?
I mean, you could maybe, like, if you go into depth.
Depth, yeah. So maybe you can go down 100 meters, but why don't we just say it's down 100 meters instead of negative 100 meters? Maybe can anyone think of another instance where we might need negative numbers? That was a good example, Quentin. Brady?
On the thing it says like the down 1 meter or something, the 70 meters, yeah. You say down maybe because meters is the you measure it with height, and maybe that's why you say down instead of negative.
You could probably say either. You probably get away with either. Usually negative meters is under what level? What's it called? The level when we start using negative meters. I think it's. Does anyone know? Sea level. You know, when it's negative in distance, it tends to be below sea level. Height, should I say? Okay, well, yeah, maybe that's one example. Is that the only reason we need negative numbers, just to say below sea level? Surely we need more than that. Otherwise, pretty pointless. It just seems like it's very difficult to deal with them sometimes. Nobody? Oh, jeez, it's Monday morning. We're all a bit sleepy. All right, well, maybe we don't need negative numbers, and maybe we'll stop now and don't do any more. I want someone to be able to tell me why we need negative numbers. Maybe tomorrow you can convince me that we need them. Alexa?
Maybe for like heat?
Heat? Yeah, that's a good example. Yeah, so when we go below 0, we go into the negatives. That's a good example. Possibly, maybe we could just make 0 colder. maybe. That's my answer to that. I don't know. Not for you're not convincing me we need them. Well, hopefully you know their value. Okay. So a couple of things that will come up in a worksheet today is, can we place things in numerical order? So I'm going to write this. You don't have to take this down what I'm writing now, but I want you to type it in the chat. Place these in numerical order, please. Let's see who's the first person who can place them. I'm just going to wait until I've written all the ones before we start typing them. So let's start. -10, 7, 0, -1, 20, and -5. Okay, so let's see if you can type those into the chat in numerical order, from smallest to biggest. That'll be numerical order. Let's use the speed typers.
Do we type it in chat or do we write it down in our book, or both?
Chat was what I was looking for, but if you write in your book, that's fine, and don't want to put it in the chat, that's okay. Oh, a lot of people, yes, a lot of people getting this. Nice, Quentin, Cosima, Salome, Alexa. Yeah. Okay. Tani. All right, the smallest number, even though it does have 10 in it, is -10. It's the one that's most furthest to the left in the number line. Remember, these numbers get smaller going to the left. Of course, I've done this before. And they get bigger going to the right. Yeah. That's just the way the number line works, doesn't it? So -10 is the smallest, then -5, getting closer to 0 here. -1, as we can see, is here. 0 lies right in the middle. Then the next biggest is going to be 7, which is this direction. And then we have 20. Yeah. Okay. So interestingly enough, this -10, what's its value then? What's its value? -10's value. It's a difficult question to answer. You're just going to probably say -10. Perhaps its ultimate value, or what they say in maths is the absolute value, is that it's actually a value of 10, not -10. Because that's its distance from 0, is 10. So it's like you owe somebody $10. If you owe someone $10, the value of it is still 10. And that's something called the absolute value. This, put in your notes, absolute value of something, which is of, its symbol is these two straight lines. I don't know if you've ever seen that before. The absolute value of 10 is 10. This is a kind of side note. We'll use it more towards the end of the year, and perhaps next year a little bit more, but absolute value. Yes, Asmara, you have a question?
Oh, no, I was just going to ask if you could put it down a little bit more because
Yeah.
I wasn't able to see it.
Okay, so the absolute value, these straight line brackets, refers to its distance from 0. That's just a kind of side note, but do put it into your notes. So the absolute value of an integer or a negative number is its positive equivalent. Some other things that might come up in this unit is the opposite of a number, which is similar to absolute value, but not quite the same. The opposite of -6 is 6. I'm sure you, so its positive equivalent is opposite. It's like its reflection in 0. If it's looking at itself in the mirror, where would it see its reflection? And the opposite of Positive number then, 7 is negative 7. So there's two examples of opposite. That kind of probably makes logical sense. Okay, so these two things, the absolute value and the opposite, albeit quite obvious, the opposite, do have them in your notes because it may come up in some of the classwork. It's the opposite of a number. Okay. Okay, so where we're going with this is we're going to start doing operations with these negative numbers. We're really going to focus on the negative numbers. We're going to start multiplying, dividing, adding, subtracting. Then, not so much today, we're just getting into the basics of it today, but I'm sure you've done a little bit of this last year. But these negative numbers are quite important in maths because we don't just restrict ourselves to positive whole numbers. We're going to go more into negative numbers and something called rational numbers, which are fractions, decimals. We'll do that in the next unit, but this unit we're definitely going to look at how to work with these negative numbers, and that's what we're going to do, not today but the next day. Okay, so today's work, which I'm about to post on Manage Back, is some pretty basic stuff. I expect most of you guys would be ready for yellow or blue on this. It's just listing numbers from smallest to biggest or picking the biggest number. The blue level questions, they have a few word problems where you have to figure out what would be the negatives and differences between negatives and positives. But I'm sure if you're used to dealing with these negative numbers, that shouldn't be an issue. All right, so what I'm going to do is if you give me 2 seconds, I'm going to put that up in Manage Back, so just stop this recording. That's all the notes for today.